So we're in the coffee room after the pitch, and the chairman says, "You remember the guy in the red tie? I liked him. Let's hire them." What firm were they from? And that was how the account was awarded. Now, I suspect that the winners of that competition, after 8 hours of pitching, would be horrified to discover that they won the account on the basis of a red tie and the thinnest little line of affinity between our chairman and their presentation team. But after 30 years in this business, I've begun to realize that most of our clients are not just deaf, but also dumb and blind when it comes to understanding the multiplicity of reasons that accounts are won or lost. Now, to put the main idea up front, it's not merely about your professional competencies or your reputation. It's not merely about your ability with the law or with creativity or with managing financial magic. It's not merely your professional standing and your reputation. It's about everything else that the account is decided upon. What do I mean by that? Well, the truth is there are probably 2 or maybe 5 or maybe 8 firms in the United States who all have a professional reputation and an incredible competency doing things just like you do them. And the scary part is when all of you get into a room following a pitch instruction, you're going to sound remarkably like one another. You probably sound and look and feel remarkably like one another. So the question that we've been examining for the last 30 years is, what makes the winners different? Why are accounts won? And so bringing insight into that real question is the subject of what we call the new business encounter. Now let's just take for a moment the fundamental assumption that every contact, every interaction you have with a target firm is a contest, potentially a place for you to win or lose to someone else. And if you begin to think that way, you'll start to realize that the winners are the winners because in their universe, nothing is ever left to chance. Now, let's take a minute and look at what we think are the 4 key areas that make the distinction between the winners and the losers. I would start with fundamental intention. One key reason that accounts are won is intention or desire for the business. And I think probably the best way to explain that concept is that some firms simply want the business more than the other guys do. They arrive earlier for the presentation. They've done a more thorough preparation. They've rehearsed beautifully. They have done an extra analysis. They have transportation standing by. They have live communication with their home office in the conference room. They are up on the computer while they're doing the presentation. There's nothing left to chance. And while other teams are well prepared and well scrubbed, it's quite clear that they brought their presentation in a box and they're bringing it out for us and they're going to read it to us page by dreary page. But it's the firm that wants it more, that's more alive, that's more awake, that's more aware, that has greater desire, that tends to win against all the others. Intention is intangible, of course, but it's a powerful determinant in who gets the business. I remember a pitch where our client exhibited some powerful intention to get the win. They did 2 things. In the back of the room was a business portfolio about 5 feet on a side and about 4 feet high. No one remarked about it during the presentation. Finally, the client's chairman interrupted and said, "Excuse me, guys, what's that big thing in the back of the room?" And our leader said, "Well, sir, that's your portfolio." Now, we know that a portfolio doesn't really exist in real life. And we thought we'd take a little bit of dramatic license and demonstrate that we understand just how important and how large that portfolio is in your way of thinking. So we'd humbly like to suggest that we get it, and we're going to take great care of that enormous portfolio. Another example of intention was a presentation that was done at a private airfield. Looking out over the airfield, there were a variety of private jets available for instant departure, but there was one that had the door open and the ladder already down. And probably 45 minutes into the presentation, our leader stood up and summarized, saying, "We understand your situation. We believe that we've proffered a really elegant solution for you, and we humbly suggest that we perhaps are the firm that you would be best advised to choose. On the outside chance that you agree with us, we have the plane waiting, and if you like, you can be at our headquarters this afternoon to examine up close the organization that we would be able to put at your disposal." Another key differentiator is that the organizations who win consistently are systematic about approaching their pitching process. They've turned it into a process instead of something that they do once and then abandon and then go at again 3 months later. Pitching is something that they've made systematic. They start by analyzing the audience, next deciding on their objective, and finally moving on to putting together a specific script and then breaking it up among the people who are actually going to present. That process never changes. Although the content changes day by day, week by week, presentation to presentation, the process of deciding who will be addressed, what will be achieved, and how the material will be broken up and spoken is systemized. And the beauty of it is that when you get good at the system, you stop thinking about the system and you become almost intuitive about doing what is required. That's the nature of true mastery, and it's that mastery that sets the winners apart from the also-rans. Well, what's Fusion got to do with that? Well, frankly, we invented the process called Ready, Set, Go, which is all about getting clear about the objective, getting clear about the audience analysis, down to the last person who will be in the room and having an influence on the decision, including all of the staffers who are going to set up and organize the meeting. Each of them gets a thank you note. Each of them is known on a first-name basis, and each of them will have something to say about the nice presentation team who came along the way. Because you're systemized, you've got time to notice everybody that you connect to. And remember, every one of these contacts is a potential win or a loss. We think that it's important for our clients to win the handshake, to win the walking in the building, to win the coming out of the elevator, and of course, to win the pitch. Now, what about choreography? What about rehearsing? Well, I'd suggest to you that anything that's going to require the collaboration of 1, 2, 3, or 4 people to do a unique presentation and make a point that hasn't been made before is probably going to require rehearsal. And we think any presentation is theater, but pitching, my friends, is rock and roll. And you know that if you're going to go see the Stones in concert, every transition has been rehearsed probably 10,000 times. Every roadie knows his place. Every guitar is going to be tuned to perfection and placed in just the right location so that Keith and the guys can find their instruments and go right to work without the momentary glitch that makes all the difference between $1 million show and something that's local. Now, if you want to be a $1 million organization and you want to win your pitches, you've got to spend as much time rehearsing what's going to be said as deciding what's going to be said. I guess a simple way of explaining why some people win and some people lose is insight. In that the consistent winners have a deeper insight, a deeper understanding of the human condition, about why people make decisions, about why people decide to extend trust. And I think the consistent winners have begun to understand that it's not about professional competency alone. It's not about reputation alone. It's not about responding to the 22 questions in the request for proposal alone. It's about all of that, but it's also about being remembered, understood, liked, and ultimately trusted in a way that goes beyond mere professional competency. They understand, those winners, that it's a matter of feeling safe with someone else and being willing to invite those people into your organization and into your heart to do business with. That insight is a long time coming for most organizations, and our goal is to help them achieve that as quickly as possible. The New Business Encounter is all about bringing that insight and practice and rehearsal and competent professional knowledgeability together in a way that makes for the perfect combination of the beautiful creative side of new business along with the very tactical and analytical side. Together, fusion is what makes it happen.